Honourable members, I have examined and approved the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 21st December 2022. Do we have any petitions? In the absence of petitions, I think before we go into the main business of the day, if you recall that yesterday we did accept that the Committee of Governors, led by the Deputy Governor, Financial Stability of the CBN, would be addressing or briefing the House this morning. I believe they are here, and on that note, I will ask that the Leader of the House is not here. Perhaps the whip can move to allow strangers into the chambers.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Manguno. I represent Marche Manguno, Nganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. In line with the orders of our rules, supra, I want to move a motion that we admit the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank in charge of financial stability and other members of our team that are accompanying her to come to the chamber to brief this hallowed chamber in consonance with the resolution that we passed. I so move.
Leader, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elimelu, and I represent the good people of Anyocho Shimil Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion moved by the House Whip. I so second.
Those in favor that will let them into the chambers, say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Sergeant at Arms, please usher the visitors into the chambers. Thank you, Whip. Chairman Banking. Okay. I think we should just, in the interest of time, as they bring them in, they've gone to get them, let's just quickly take, Leader, you have a motion of urgent public importance. Yes, let's quickly take that as they come in.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 8, Rule 4, to allow me, 4 and 7, to allow me to take a matter of urgent public importance. Mr. Speaker, it has to do with the killings that took place on Sunday 17th, just last week. With the permission of Mr. Speaker, I would like to move this motion.
Monrovia, on the second.
Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, my name is Mukhtar Ahmed. I represent Kaduna South Federal Constituency, and I second the motion moved by the Deputy Whip. I so second.
Those in favor that this motion is important, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Please move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, my name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. I come from Kaduna State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the House notes on Sunday, 17th December 2022, terrorists unleashed terror on the people of Malogum village in Kagoro and neighboring communities, killed 37 persons, stole grains, and destroyed properties worth millions of naira, among others. The House further notes that these terror attacks have been going on repeatedly
Chairman Banking,
within Kaura Federal
please
Constituency
approach the chair.
without proactive measures initiated to avert these ugly terror attacks on the people of Kaura local government. The House is also aware that the House of Representatives passed several resolutions on similar motions and communicated its resolutions to all security agencies. But unfortunately, no positive actions yielded from it. The House is concerned that if no stringent security measures are taken to safeguard the lives of our people in compliance with Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, particularly Section 14, subsection 2B, which clearly states thus, that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. It might constitute threat to national security. The House do resolves to 1, observe a minute silent as a mark of respect to all those killed in the terror attack in Kaura local government of Kaduna State. 2, urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development through the National Emergency Management to immediately provide relief materials to victims of the attacks in Kaura local government area.
Honorable Shadipe.
Number 3, urge the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, to, as a matter of urgency, direct the Chief of Defense Staff to initiate a coordinated joint security operation and provide aerial surveillance and support to flush out the terrorists and destroy their camps in defense of lives of innocent Nigerians and avoid reoccurrence. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honorable Elumelu, you want to second that?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Dodi Godwin Elumelu, and I represent the good people of Anyocho Shimlifera constituency. I'm proud.
Chairman Banking.
Once again, I remain Honorable Dodi Godwin Elumelu, and I represent the good people of Anyocho Shimlifera constituency. I'm proudly from Delta State. I rise to second the motion moved by the House Minority Whip. I so second.
I think this is a pretty straightforward motion. There's no need to debate it, so I'll just go ahead and put the question. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Do we take one more before we address? Okay, you have a minute silence in your motion. Okay, so let's rise for a minute silence, please. The souls of the departed rest in peace. I think Honorable colleagues, Honorable Shadipe has a motion of urgent public importance that actually touches on, it's an auspicious moment because I think it has to do with CBN. So now that they're here, maybe it might be an auspicious moment for her to move on. Motion before we hear from CBN on the matter at hand. Honorable Shadipe, very quickly, please.
My name is Honorable Tolulope Akonde Shadipe, representing Oluyole Federal Constituency in Oyo State. And may I ask that the rules of the House, Order 8, Rule 4, be suspended to allow me to present this motion. My motion is about the fate of Nigerian students who are about to be deported from the United Kingdom because of their school fees and accommodation not being remitted.
Your motion is about Nigerian students abroad who are about to be deported because of what? Because of school fees? In diaspora all over the world. But you told me this was something to do with CBN. I'm just allowing her to drive home her point. Don't worry. Okay, so wait, that's your motion. Is there a second, Honorable Chidoka?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Obinna Chidoka, member representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. I rise this morning to second the motion as moved by Honorable Shadibe. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor that this motion is urgent enough to take now, for us to please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Shadibe, go ahead, move your motion very quickly.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the floor, Honorable Speaker. There is an urgent need to investigate and find a solution to the plight of Nigerian students in schools abroad with regard to the delayed remittance of school fees, their accommodation, and other financial requests based on their Form A submissions at their respective banks, including the top banks in this country: Access Bank, GT Bank, Stanbic Bank. So accordingly, it affects all banks across board. The House is aware that some Nigerian international students across the world are having hard times processing the payment is provided by the beneficiaries. Observe that Nigerian banks have failed to process Form A's, the form used for foreign currency requests and payment transfers needed for settling school fees and accommodation and other required expenses. Also observe that commercial banks have refused to make refunds to the affected students to enable them search for alternative means of payment. I quote, "I'm concerned that the 11 affected students from the University of Hull in England, along with several others across the world, are on the verge of being deported back to Nigeria if urgent action is not taken to remedy the situation. We are disturbed that the Central Bank of Nigeria, commercial banks involved, have kept mute, leaving Nigerian students abroad to face uncharted waters as regards this issue. I request that the House resolves to mandate the Central Bank of Nigeria to promptly put in place a solution to alleviate this life-shattering situation that our students abroad are caught in, and to mandate the Central Bank of Nigeria and commercial banks to ensure the processing of all past due student fees urgently." And that is my motion. Thank you. I so submit.
Honorable Maki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Malamudori Kaugama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my honorable colleagues. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Hi. Honorable Shadipe, do you want to add flesh to that very quickly, or we just put the question? Is there anybody that wants to speak against this? I think it's straightforward enough. Those in favor of the motion as not amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, as you will recall, we had invited the CBN to brief the House in accordance with the extant laws of the Federation on the new policies, monetary policies as it affects cash policies, the new cash policy, and I believe the new redesigned notes. We have with us today, after the considered explanation of the CBN governor, who is unable to be here because he's out of the country at the moment, attending to his health, and he has graciously asked that he be represented by the deputy governor, who's in charge of financial stability in the CBN, and she's here with her team, and we will take her briefing, ask questions if necessary after her briefing. If honorable members, can you please take your seats? Honorable members, Honorable Ishmael, Honorable Raji, honorable members, we have an urgent business at hand. Can we just please be quiet so that we take this briefing and we move on? The deputy governor, you have the floor. Is there a podium for her, or where is this going to happen? Yes. Sorry, we're trying to get used to these temporary chambers. You have the privilege of being the first person, the first public to come and address the full house in these temporary chambers.
Silence, please. Silence, please. Absolute silence, please.
Honorable Ganiu Johnson, please.
His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, principal officers of the House, other esteemed honorable members of the House, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to engage with you and provide perspectives on CBN's cashless policy and more recently its policy statements on cash withdrawal limits, which have, we all agree, generated a lot of reactions.
Deputy Director, let me just very quickly interject here. Yes. I will, if you may, can you introduce yourself, yes, your portfolio, who you are? Because when you're addressing the House, you're actually addressing the nation, the people out there. So they will want to know, for the benefit of those who do not know out there, who you are and your locus in addressing us on monetary matters. Please introduce yourself and your office.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Mrs. Aisha Ahmad. I'm the Deputy Governor in charge of Financial System Stability at the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Directorate is charged with ensuring that the CBN achieves its mandate to promote a safe and sound financial system and to ensure that we have a credible and efficient payment system. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Permit me to commend the House of Representatives for living up to its mandate to protect and defend the Nigerian people, particularly on this matter, and for your interest in national economic issues. Thank you for that. May I?
Thank you.
May I convey the apologies of the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, who is unavoidably absent here. If you permit me with your attention for just 5 minutes, sirs and ma'ams, I'd like to respectfully just give an overview of the cashless policy and make a few remarks before we take your kind questions. Just 5 minutes. Thank you. So, the cashless policy was first launched in 2012, and it was launched under the CBN's mandate in sections 2D and 47 of the CBN Act. We commenced this on a pilot basis in Lagos State and introduced limits on transactions of 500,000 and 3 million for individuals and corporate customers respectively, and with charges for any amount above this. The pilot was very successful, and following that, the policy was extended to 6 other states, Abia, Anambra, Kano, Ogun, and Rivers, in July 2013. Over the years, and it's been 10 years now since we first launched this, the policy has been amended severally due to feedback from stakeholders, and also to ensure that we develop the infrastructure and financial access points required to support the policy. We've suspended processing fees on excess lodgements in the past. We did this in 2014. In 2017 and 2019, we also suspended nationwide rollout of the cashless policy. Currently, we suspended fully any payments or charges on excess lodgements. Our policy pronouncement on December 5 was a continuation of the cashless policy that we already started with 10 years ago. And it was in recognition of the changes, the positive changes that have happened in the financial system and in the payment system since cashless was first launched. Some of these changes include: 1, a wide proliferation of financial access points. In 2012, thereabouts, we were still talking about bank branches as the only source of access to financial services. Today, we have a very robust payment system that includes bank branches, branches of microfinance banks, POS machines, ATM machines, agent banking, e-Naira, and many other options. To be specific, we have, between the banks and the microfinance banks, we have 6,500 locations. We have 900,000 POS terminals. We have 14,000 ATMs across the country, and we have 1.4 million agents nationwide. And every single local government in Nigeria has an agent represented. We've also seen a proliferation of electronic transactions. Just by way of quick example, in 2012, we had 48 billion naira in POS transactions. Today, we have 6 trillion in POS transactions. On electronic transfers, we had 3 trillion in 2012. Today, we have 300 trillion as at October of 2022. That is a 7,000% increase. We've also seen an improvement in financial inclusion to 64.1%. And lastly, perhaps more importantly, we've seen the evolution of the Nigerian payment system on the global stage. Nigeria is judged 6th in the world for instant real payments, and we are only behind countries like India, China, Thailand, Brazil, and South Korea. We are the only African country in the top 10, and this has been as a result of some of the initiatives that have come off of cashless. Also, electronic payments and real-time digital payments have estimated to contribute about 0.67% to our GDP. Going to the cash withdrawal limits that were issued in response to the feedback from Nigerians, in response to the comments that were made by this revered chamber, we took those feedback on board. We did mention, and the CBN governor mentioned, that we'll be flexible in the implementation of this policy in response to stakeholder sentiment. In response, we have since reviewed the limits significantly from 100,000 that we had per week to 500,000 per week for individuals, from 500,000 per week for corporates to 5 million per week for corporates. We've also amended the processing fees from 5% and 10% downwards to 3% and 5%. We have clarified the importance, the strategic importance of agents as important participants in the financial system because they play a key role in certain underserved segments in the rural areas and in certain market areas, and they as well would be covered by this new revised rule. Just to round up, I thought it was important, Mr. Speaker, to give some justification as to why these limits are required now and why it is time for us to get cashless nationwide. The data available to us shows that 94% of all transactions, cash transactions, fall below the 500,000 limit. And this includes in areas in the country that are predominantly cash, that are not part of the cashless policy. 82% of corporate transactions also are below this limit. What does this mean? It means that 94% of all individual transactions will not be affected by these fees that we have talked about. It also means that the fees do not, because I've seen some misconceptions about the fees, that we are charging the fees on the entire amount that wants to be withdrawn. No. The fees are to be charged on any withdrawals above the limit. So for example, if you are withdrawing 550,000, the fee will be on the 50,000. We also looked at transactions for agents. So transactions by Nigerians that go to agent locations and transactions by the agents themselves. The average total cash transaction of agents is 2,184,000, which is clearly within the current limits. The average transaction per individual that works up to an agent is about 18,000 naira. This gives you a perspective around what the policy is trying to do is to encourage more people to come into the formal payment system because of the numerous benefits that accrue. It means opening up our rural areas, opening up the underserved areas to economic opportunity, to payment opportunity, and connecting them into the formal system. During the COVID period, we saw the negative impact of physical cash. No one could go anywhere. We couldn't go to the banks. People couldn't leave their homes. It was the electronic banking system that protected and served those below the poverty line that would have had their livelihoods at risk. To clarify some misconceptions, I think it's important to also mention that from the data that we have, we've seen that the denominations that are not going to be redesigned, the 100, 50, 20, and 10 naira and 5 naira are predominantly used in the interlands and in the rural areas, and these are not going to be affected by the policy. Also, we do not prohibit, you have access to your money, so there is no prohibition in terms of what you want to collect. It is that for certain large amounts, you will need to provide additional information. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we want to just reiterate, sir, the benefits, the overall benefits of the cashless policy. It is to reduce cash processing costs, cash minting costs, processing costs, the cost of destroying old notes, and the cost of moving the cash from place to place, the physical cost of protecting it. All these costs are passed on typically to the banking public. Getting rid of these costs means that charges will be would be less on that respect. Also, this is an opportunity to promote Nigeria's positive image from a money laundering perspective. Even the recently passed anti-money laundering laws has limits for cash for a reason, because cash is usually the medium by which some of these nefarious activities are done. Suffice it to say that, you know, the advantages around protecting people from armed robbery, kidnapping, terrorism financing goes without saying. Finally, we just want to say that we'll continue to be open, we'll continue to engage, we'll continue to listen as we implement this policy in response to the sentiment of Nigerians. It is not intended to disenfranchise anyone, particularly those that are in vulnerable situations, those in the rural areas, those in the markets. It is meant to bring everyone into the significant economic opportunity that comes when you are fully included. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Deputy Governor. We will take a few questions from members. Obviously, we're not going to be able to take all members. We're going to take a few members. Members should please try and restrict themselves to the relevant two issues that I mentioned earlier, the cash policy and the redesign of the new notes. We'll start with Honorable Shatima, please.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I remain Lawan Shatima Ali, representing Burusari Gaida Municipal Constituency. I'm from Yobe State. The CBN governor ably represented by the deputy. My question is, with the new policy, my constituency is being made up of 3 local governments. And none of the local government has a functional bank, as that I'm talking to you now. I don't know how my constituents will have money to transact their business, particularly for their basic needs. You only say it won't affect because at the rural level, the availability of 100 naira notes, 50 naira, and the 5 naira and 10 naira. But with the current trend of inflation in the country, there is every need for them to get the higher denominations, because you will go to the market, you won't get bag of grain at the cost of not less than 30,000 now. How sure are you that there will be pre-circulation of such money at the grassroots level, where the services of bank is even scanty? Then secondly, with the redesign of the naira, that's the 1,000 notes, 500 and 200. One of the conditions being given to protect Nigerians from is the issue of PEC currency. But it is all over the news that there has been an interception of PEC currency even before the circulation gets to the population in the country. So what step are you taking towards that direction? Thank you.
Thank you. Who's there? Somebody at the back there.
Back there.
Is your mic not working? Hold on.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Chinedu Benjamin Obidigwe, member representing Anambra East and West Federal Constituency, Anambra State. CBN Governor
My question is very simple and straight. Why is this policy too urgent to be implemented? Now we are about having an election in Nigeria. One problem too many at a time. Are you not seeing it as an opportunity for the ruling party to rig out opposition parties in this? Are you not seeing it? I have the floor. I have the floor. I am entitled to my question. Mr. Speaker, protect me. Because
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chinedu. Thank you. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. It's all right, please. Honorable Chinedu, land. Allow him to land and finish his question. But can land, keep it short. Your questions will be answered.
Yes.
Yeah, have you made your point?
CBN Governor, why is the, my question is simple. Why is this policy too urgent to be implemented now? We are about facing a general election.
Thank you.
And let me just re-echo one line. Are you not seeing it as an opportunity for the ruling party to rig out the opposition parties? Thank you.
All right, Honorable Isiaka.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Representative Ibrahim Ayokunle Isiaka. I speak for and on behalf of the very good people of Ifo, Ewekoro Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Ogun State.
Please, can we hear the question, please? Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, my questions to the governor are: one, the level of advocacy and public enlightenment, especially in Nigeria, where we have multiple languages, and our agrarian people, especially in the rural areas. How well have you carried them along in different languages, such that they are well equipped about this policy and they will not suffer collateral damages? Number two, and finally, CBN Governor, the parameters you have just rolled out, I want to know if you properly aligned, especially with the Federal Office of Statistics, who are the custodians of many of the parameters you have just rolled out for us now, and to what extent have both of you or other agencies of federal government evaluated this policy before coming to fore? Those are the two questions I have. Thank you very much.
Honorable Sada, we'll take a couple more from here and then we'll move to this side. Honorable Sada.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Sada Soli Jibia, representing Jibia Keita Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kaduna State. Mr. Speaker, the CBN must not restrict people choices through coercion of a policy for their own good. Mr. Speaker, can the CBN tell Nigerians how much was printed out of this new currency? How much was printed? Why did I ask that question? Because today, if you jump into the bank and you want to withdraw money, the money is not available. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the most successful countries in the world that succeeded in cashless economy are the 3 Nordic countries, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. Their population is not up to Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, we must consider 3 sectors if we want these things to be successful within a short time. The banking sector, we know as of today, the banking sector does not have the infrastructure to cope up with the baseline of base customer line that will come into this net of cashless. The second sector is the power sector. Mr. Speaker, last 3 weeks we went to Binungwari. There was no electricity, there was no telecom sector. And that's the next sector to make this policy successful. The banking sector, because of the infrastructure and the employees, the power sector, and the telecom sector. Mr. Speaker, I think the CBN should be retrospective, should think inward, should think out of the box if truly we want this to be successful, so they should slow down. If the CBN will have this policy 2012 with a policy of withdrawal daily, and it was successful, they enjoyed it, they have all the data, why do they have to restrict people now withdrawal weekly? Why won't they continue daily withdrawal of 500,000 and daily withdrawal of 5 million? Because it has been practiced, people are used to it, and there was no shock in the economy, there was no decline in the economic activities. Mark you, the greater part of, the role cash play in the macroeconomic activities of this country. From Bayelsa to Birni Kebbi, the small markets that we have, the volume of trading that takes place is basically cash transaction. So I think the CBN should have this policy with human face. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I said I was going to take a couple more questions from here and then move to that side. We'll do it orderly. Is that Muda? No. Okay, Honorable Tolu Shariba, you said you had something. What is it?
The petition that was sent by mobile money movers in Nigeria and in diaspora, and they have some questions they've raised. So I was going to raise those questions on their behalf.
Questions from who?
The Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria.
Well, they sent questions to you.
They've written a petition to the House of Representatives.
Go ahead.
Sir. Thank you, sir. My name is Honorable Tolulokpe Akonde Shadipe, and I represent Oluyole Federal Constituency in Oyo State. We have a petition from the Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, and I will touch on certain points. I know that CBN is aware that there are over 1.4 million POS agents in Nigeria, and this new policy will render them jobless, and that is a major economic impact on the nation. Was this given consideration when this policy was decided? Then 2, this policy also affects the progress made in diaspora remittances, which currently stands at $20 billion. Some of these remittances are channeled through mobile money agents serving Nigerians who are excluded from the banking system. Take that on notice, please. And then also note that thousands of mobile money and bank agents operate outside the city centers and do not have access to digital or electronic banking, and they will be seriously impacted by this policy. On the 8th of December, this association wrote to Central Bank of Nigeria. They are yet to receive any response from you, and therefore have petitioned the National Assembly. Thank you.
Idausa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Dennis Idahosa. I represent Ovia Federal Constituency. I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the person that is standing in for the CBN governor. First, I want to commend you because I'm looking at it from different perspectives. I want to commend you because you articulated the benefits to us as a country. And if these policies are actually implemented, it will reduce a lot of fraudulent activities within the country. No, I said I want to commend her. No. Listen. No, see, we have to look at it from different perspectives. Your perspective are different from mine. For me, I want to commend, and I'm 100% in support of this policy. But a lot of my colleagues have raised significant questions that has to do with power. For you to be able to implement such policies, all these factors has to come in place. So I want you to look at the area of power, telecommunications, and rural areas that do not have electricity.
What is your question?
So having said that, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think if these policies are actually implemented, it will give a good, significant improvement in area that has to do with drastic reduction of fraudulent activities within the country. Thank you very much.
All right, please let us restrict ourselves to questions. I think before we move to this side now, because there have been a few questions, I'll allow you to respond to these questions and then we'll move to that side.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, honorable members, for your insightful questions. I may not have heard everybody's name, but please permit me. The first question was from Honorable Ali, I believe. He mentioned the concern about 3 local governments that don't have functional banks and the fact that the citizens of those local governments will need cash to manage their basic needs. And he also talked about what steps are we taking on the Naira redesign to combat fake currency. My response to that is that thankfully we have agents now, and I think it's important that I break down what an agent can do. Because an agent can do exactly, most agents, not all, I have to be honest, most agents can do what banks can do. What is that? You want to withdraw cash, it's called cash out. You go to an agent and you can get money from the agent. You want to pay a bill, like pay NEPA bill, pay a government tax, or you want to buy airtime. All of that can be done by agents.
Silence, please. Silence, please. We need absolute silence.
Thank you, sir. So the citizens are not actually disenfranchised. They have options for their transactions, and they are indeed using those options today. Why do I say so? From the data that we see, in terms of the size of transactions happening in agent locations, people in the interland are actually taking advantage of this. Some of us here might not know because we do not use those services, but I can assure you that we have that covered. On the issue around the fake currency, we are doing a lot of sensitization because we believe that sensitization cannot be just the newspapers, the TV, and the radios. We need to go into the rural areas, go into the markets, and use people in the communities to actually drive home the message. It takes time, but over time it improves. Like I said, we started in 2012, and it's been like night and day between 2012 and now. There was a question about why the policy is urgent and the issue around the elections. I think I have to make it very, very clear that the CBN is an independent institution. Our decisions are taken based on research, data, and it is the work of many teams working together across the different directorates. On this issue, we've had teams from banking supervision, from payment system, from currency management, across the entire bank. And it is then brought up and we make a decision. At no time do we make decisions based on any political considerations. And I think it's important that I understate that. Advocacy and public enlightenment in multiple languages, that's what we are doing. We are trying to work with the National Orientation Agency, trying to work with local religious leaders and market leaders and people in the rural communities. There's a question about our data and is it aligned with the National Bureau of Statistics? Yes, we work closely with the National Bureau of Statistics. We do joint surveys, but a lot of this data is also from the financial system. The reason why we are able to provide this data is that it is electronic and the data is available to us from the banks and other financial institutions. Honorable Sada talked about we must not restrict people's choices through coercion. I want to see this more as, from CBN's perspective, it is through encouragement and through benefits, by providing the right enabling benefit that will encourage people to change behavior. And like I said, the populace has been very resilient. If you look at electronic transaction adoption between 2012 and now, it is like night and day, 7,000% growth. That shows resilience and that shows responsiveness. We feel we are ready for this because from the data that we have, even in states that don't have cashless today, I reeled out the numbers. All those transaction amounts are below the minimums that we've put today. So they are not even affected by the fees. Why not daily? Why not weekly? We'll take all that feedback like we did before. There was feedback. We took the feedback. We reviewed. We'll take the feedback and, we'll take everyone's feedback and we'll take into consideration. There was a conversation about the banking sector infrastructure. I think it's important that we see it as the financial sector infrastructure. I think the Nigerian, we do ourselves a disservice when we say banking is not just about deposit money banks. We have other financial institutions today. We have microfinance banks. We have a lot of fintech companies that are in the payment system. And we have a lot of channels. And for me, the infrastructure from what we see has grown significantly. From mobile connectivity to using new channels like USSD, which actually allows people that do not have the smartphones we use to also transact. We have the e-Naira, which was launched recently, which is another option. We have POS machines. In the past, the conversation was about the cost of POS machines. Today, you don't actually need a physical machine to receive money. You can actually use your mobile phone and it turns into a POS machine. So the discussion about infrastructure is actually much wider than that. Finally, on mobile phone ownership, like I mentioned before, mobile phone ownership shows that Nigerians are ready to embrace electronic because they actually have the tools with which to do so. There was a conversation about the role of cash in trading and talking about how cash moves across borders, internal borders. I actually think cashless is going to enable more trading because you don't need to physically, look at the time it will take you to physically take cash from one part of the country to the other when you can do it in an instant through a transfer. The final one, sir. Sorry? Okay, how much was printed? I'm sorry, I'm not able to share that figure now and only because I want to give an accurate number. Yes, sir. There was the petition from the mobile and bank agents.
So sorry, the question was how much money was printed.
Yes.
And your answer was that you don't have the exact.
Yes, I would prefer.
Okay.
No,
it's okay. She's giving her answer.
Yes.
Go ahead. The next question, please. Go ahead. Honorable members. We're here for a briefing. We asked for a briefing. She has briefed us. You have asked your questions. She has answered the question the way the question is how much was printed. She doesn't know. You can't force that out of her. She doesn't know. Let's move on to the next question.
There was a petition from the mobile money agents.
Silence, please. Silence. Silence, please.
Honorable colleagues, honorable colleagues, honorable colleagues, I'm about to
Silence,
bring this
please.
briefing to a close. If we know we don't want any more briefing, I will close this briefing. I will close this briefing. We've asked for briefing. Honorable Lumelu, please take your seat. Honorable Maki, please, please. Honorable Halims, please take your seat. Okay, you are with this. Please take your seat. Let's finish this briefing. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sirs, for your consideration.
Silence, please. Silence, please.
I'd like to address the question about mobile agents. That won't this policy render them jobless? And how will it affect diaspora remittances? And that many of them operate around outside the city centers, and that what is our response to that? I believe that the revised limits that we have and the revised circular that we sent actually takes the agents into
Silence, please.
consideration.
Silence, please. Please resume your seat.
And from the data that we receive from agents themselves, in terms of the transaction size that they are operating at, the average transaction size at an agent location is less than 2.5 million naira. So they will not be affected.
I don't want to interrupt her.
I think it's also important to mention that the reason why we have agents today is due to the policies of the CBN around cashless, because that was what spurred the innovation and the investment in that channel. And that is what has created the livelihoods for the 1.4 million agents that we have today. That technology innovation. Thank you, sir.
All right, this side, please. We'll just take a couple of questions. Please, members, since members are not listening, we'll take a couple of questions and close. Honorable Honorable Hafiz.
Please, honorable members that are standing, they should go upstairs. If this chamber is full, they should go upstairs. Members that are standing should go upstairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Hafiz Kau. I represent the good people of Taron Federal Constituency. By the grace of God, I'm from Kano State. The Deputy Governor,
Honorable Olododo, please.
Representing the CBN Governor. My question is simple. I want to know the mechanism the CBN uses in monitoring and evaluation of the real-time activities down the grassroots in terms of the economic activities before formulating any policy. As you know, the honorable members are the closest to the grassroots. For example, the activities going on in small markets whereby they sell tomatoes, they sell cows, they sell other things that even at times if you go to buy those things in those local markets, they even go beyond the limits set up by CBN. So I want to know the mechanism the CBN uses in the monitoring and evaluation. Then the second issue about the counterfeit. You said you're doing sensitization. I think it's a little bit late because before bringing out these new redesign notes, before even announcing this policy, the CBN is supposed to have allowed the new notes to go in circulation so that the populace will know the looks. Because now if you go to the village and take counterfeit and give people, how will they be able to know whether it is or genuine or it is fake? Because they have not seen it. So I thought the CBN should allow that new Naira note to get down before they bring out this, because now people will panic. If you give me a fake note, I won't take it to the bank. I'll go to my room and hide it. Because I'm thinking if I take it to the bank, because of the limit or because of the policy that you announced, it will stop me from what I want to do. So these are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Deputy Chairman Banking. Honorable Sejus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly esteemed colleagues. I'm Sejus Ose Ogun, and I represent Eastern Northeast, Eastern Southeast, and I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate the President, Muhammadu Buhari. I think he's finishing strong. And I also want to thank the CBN for this policy. My only question would be, they have said that the CBN has bowed to the pressure to increase the limits to which people can withdraw. As good as that is, I also want you to tell us for how long will this be? If you remember, in the days of Lamido Sanusi, the then CBN governor, they had started this policy. The present CBN governor came and didn't do much about it. So we appreciate the courage of the present CBN governor to do this now. But this cannot be forever. We are spending hard-earned money to print the Naira. We cannot keep printing the Naira. So as much as we have doubled down on this policy right now, we want you to tell us categorically for how long will this be? Is it going to be for 3 months, 6 months, or you're going to be doing regional like you started then? Because the way to go is cashless. Thank you.
Honorable Bila. Has he left?
Chairman, ethics, stop using your phone.
You have to come to this side. You're not on your seat. Somebody had told me you had a question. Honorable Banikoro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will be doing a major unjust to my constituency if I do not put my input today. All the banks have their head office. Majority of the banks have their head office in my constituency. While Deputy Governor CBN was talking, she talked about 14,000 ATMs in Nigeria. I am 100% sure that almost half of that are in my constituency. Constituency 2, to be precise. I am Representative Ibrahim Babajide of Banikoro. I speak for Itiosa Federal Constituency in the land of our local Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, when the CBN governor came out to defend this policy, one of their defense line was that they want to prevent or stop people from keeping money in their houses. Now, you are telling me how to spend my money, how much I can withdraw, how much I can deposit, and that you are going to charge me if I decide to go above your limits. So tell me why you want me to take my money to the bank. That means you are discouraging people from going to the bank. That is one. Now, the long-lasting effect of that is that our people are going to start losing their jobs. That is the long-lasting effect, because when the bank starts seeing less customers, they feel the need to reduce in their human capacity. So they are going to fire and lay off some of our people, and that's going to increase unemployment in Nigeria. Now, we also know about, fake alerts. When you do business with people, some people will send you alerts. After the business is over, months later, you realize that the money never entered. You go to your bank, they tell you such money did not come in. You realize that you have been scammed. That's one of the reasons why some people are scared to do online banking. They want their physical cash. And lastly, my leader, Rep. Sade Sole, asked that how much has been printed. You could not give us a definite figure. Now, I want to rephrase that question. In the management meeting, when you decided to print new notes, how much was decided to start off with in that meeting? That's my question. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much. Honorable Gwila. Go ahead. Honorable Gwila. Oh, your mic is not...
It's over here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, my very honorable colleagues. My name is Mark Tese Gbila. I represent Gwe East, Gwe West Federal Constituency of Benue State. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the presence of the Governor, very ably represented. Let me quickly start with the first question with regards to what you said about you are trying to liaise with the National Orientation Agency. Is that not already an indictment that the CBN did not properly consult with the relevant stakeholders before coming up with this policy? Number two, with regards to the issue of the question that was asked about how much was printed, which you said you're not aware of, that also gives me concern about whether or not the CBN governor himself will not have to still address this very honorable institution with those details. And I want to ask, Mr. Speaker, a further question. How much was spent in printing this money that you have created, the new notes? How much was spent, and how was that money appropriated? Was it spent through a fund approved by this honorable institution, or how did the CBN obtain the funds to print these new notes? While you were talking, you mentioned something about the e-Naira. And Mr. Speaker, this is very instructive for me to point out, because considering Section 8, subsection 4 and 5 of the CBN Act, this is part of the statutory function of the CBN governor, which we had to raise on the floor of the House before the compliance of the CBN. So there are two questions there. Number one, is the CBN governor not aware of the provisions of the Act with regards to his statutory obligation to address the National Assembly semi-annually, that is 2 times minimum in a year, and to also present reports to the relevant committees of the House? This is a statutory requirement which he has not done throughout his tenure. That is one. Now, with regards to the e-Naira, finally, what regulatory backup or framework did you use to bring out the e-Naira? Because in the CBN Act, Section 2B, that refers to currency, further sections 17, 18, 19 refer to currency notes. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there is no regulatory backup, in my own opinion, for the e-Naira which she mentioned in her address to us, because the sanctions in the CBN Act only refer to currency notes and coins. There is no sanction for e-Naira. So these are certain issues that I have to use this opportunity of them carrying out their statutory obligation to raise before the CBN to be able to address. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Can you address the questions, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the questions. The first one I received was, how do we monitor activities in small markets? How do we actually know what level of economic activity is happening at the grassroots? 2 ways. First of all, I mentioned before that in rural communities and small markets, they tend to use small mom and pop shops and that are served as agents. Those agents are linked up to an electronic system that is managed by a super agent. We are able to see the flow of transactions, the average size of transactions and the total transactions, and we're able to understand what they spend it on. Secondly, the CBN conducts monthly household surveys. Those surveys cover respondents that are randomly selected, and also cover household spending and behavior in the market, so on costs and prices of goods. On counterfeiting, the question was, is it not late? Is sensitization not late? I believe that was what he was said. I think sensitization is something that has to happen through it all. You cannot start with sensitization and then leave it. Before the new notes came out, we did inform the public and we started our sensitization. Now that it is out and it is being used side by side with the old notes, we are continuing that sensitization. And I can just quickly address the question about the National Orientation Agency. We are trying to partner with the National Orientation Agency in order to deliver the messages that we want to deliver to the grassroots. And we are not only partnering with them, we are partnering with many other stakeholders. The Honorable from Edo State asked that in support of cashless, how long will this be? This will be indefinite. This is it going forward. And you asked the question, will it be some certain states? No, it is nationwide going forward. Honorable Obanikoro, thank you for your question. I respectfully disagree. You said that this would mean that people will start losing their jobs because people will stop going to the banks. No, I think this will create more opportunity, not just for people working in the banks to retool. Technological change and innovation is a phenomenon happening all over the world. Of course, it's changing the type of jobs that people are doing, but it is also opening up new opportunities for them to do other things. So I don't see this as going to limit that. Indeed, the example of agents is a strong example that says that we created something, a platform, a business that was not there 10 years ago because we needed to solve a problem around ensuring that all areas in Nigeria were covered financially. That's just a small example of what technology can do. So I don't see this policy as making people lose their jobs. You talked about the fear of online banking and the issue around fake alerts. The truth is that for any initiative, there will be challenges. What matters is that the benefits must outweigh the risks. The CBN has an active consumer protection department that is looking at issues of fraud, issues of cybersecurity, and issues of bank conduct in terms of how they charge customers. And every time we hold the banks to account when they flout those rules. You talked about the e-Naira and the regulatory backing. The e-Naira is a digital representation of the physical Naira. And so it does have banking in law from our perspective. That's our answer to that. Statutory obligation to provide the reports to the relevant committees. We continue to engage the relevant committees, not just in the House of Representatives, but in the Senate as well. And we are very alive to the fact that we must be partners. We recognize the role you play as a voice of the people and holding us to account. We respect that and we'll continue to engage. You know, perhaps we need to do better. We'll do better in that respect. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Where, like I said earlier, that we're not going to be able to take everybody. It's not possible.
Sorry, sir. One of the questions.
Which one has not been answered?
Order, please. Order, please. Order, please.
Sorry.
Order, please. Order, please.
Chief Whip.
There was one question about
Order, please.
The notes that were ordered.
Order, please. The ruling of the Speaker on this matter is final. Order, please.
All right, thank you very much. The Deputy Governor, we have taken your brief under consideration. The House will meet and deliberate. There was a...
Please, honorable members, please, let's listen to the Speaker in silence, please. Please.
I want to thank you for coming for the brief. Like I said, honorable colleagues, can you please, like I said, the House will take your brief under consideration. There was a question that was asked by Honorable Wheeler, which I want to reiterate, about the statutory duties. It wasn't optional, obligatory of the CBN under Section 8 of the CBN Act to brief this House on your monetary policies. There's a reason that that provision is in the law. That wasn't done. It took the prompting of the House, not once, not twice, but 3 times, to have the CBN come for this briefing that is not even, we're not even asking for it. It's an obligatory briefing under the CBN Act Section 8. The question he asked was the CBN aware of this provision of the law? Now, if the CBN was aware of this provision of the law, how come the CBN, before even going public with this policy, did not brief the House? Now, let me give you for every law, there is a raison d'etre. There's a reason why that law was made. The reason why the House needed to be briefed under the contemplation of the law was because this House represents the people out there. So by briefing the House, we can now go back, assuming we agree with your policy, to our constituents and let them know what is going on and why it is going on. We could have worked with you if we agreed with you. So the question remains, how come the CBN did not brief the House? And moving forward, that should never happen again. So is there a reason? That's number one. Number two, I want to address the issue of, although you may say that the horse has left the stable, the redesigning of the Naira. Like I said earlier, good intention, all your policies may be of good intention, but they say the road to hell is sometimes paved with good intentions. We are aware of the Bank of England. We are aware of the United States. Just recently, the Bank of England changed the polymer notes or whatever to the King Charles notes. And the Bank of England made a publication that would not come into effect until 2024. In other words, they gave a year's notice in a cashless society. Do you get what I'm saying? In a cashless society, they still gave a year's notice. How come then can we rationalize 2-3 months notice in a cash-full society? So this is and not only do they give that kind of notice, in the United States, in other places, even when the law or the policy takes effect, you are allowed to continue to use the old notes at the same time until it's completely phased out. So these are questions that are begging for answers and are agitating the minds of many. And finally, let me just say this, because you made a very critical point, and I don't want the point to be lost, or I want to interrogate it further. You said that only 6% of the banking populace are affected adversely by this policy. 94% are not, because they withdraw below that limit weekly. Now, that is in percentage terms. Can you tell us in numerical terms what that percentage means? In other words, how many people are in the banking sector, how many citizens are captured. I think I heard you say earlier that there were 60 million, thereabouts, 60 to 70 million Nigerians. So 6% of 60 to 70 million comes to how many people? Now, if it runs into millions, are you aware that even that may be insignificant to you, but in terms of trickle-down economics, there is a relationship between the people at the top of the pyramid, the 6%, and the 94%. The 94% cannot cycle their business without the 6%. So you cannot isolate 6% and say they operate on their own and good luck to them, you are the ones affected, good luck to you. But their relationship, the 94% is dependent on the 6%. So these are things that if you had consulted with us, we would have brought these perspectives to you to look at and to examine and re-examine and re-examine until we come to a good meeting place. So if you can just address those 2-3 things, and then the House will consider the rest of outside once you leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you all honorable members for your patience. I think your first comment, Mr. Speaker, is well noted. It is well taken. We remain open to continue to engage and do better. When the House convenes these hearings, it is the responsibility of us to show up, and we look forward to you doing so. You talked about comparing our situation with what's just happened with the Bank of England. I think we need to, when we are making the comparison, we need to consider all the factors. Global best practice says that you need to redesign your currency every 5 to 8 years. We haven't done that in 2 decades. And so the Bank of England routinely does this. The amount of cash outside circulation in the UK is much lower than what we have today. We have about 80% outside circulation. So our issue here is very, very dire in that respect, and it's very urgent. In terms of the timing, it's neither here nor there on the timing. I think we looked at it that 90 days, based on what we know of financial access points, availability of points for people to go and pay in their funds, and the fact that we actually released the new notes earlier than planned, we felt that we're in a good position to conclude at the timelines that we gave. We are open to feedback. We are open to people's views on that. Thank you for the question on the transactions, sir. Let me clarify. When I mentioned 94%, I was talking about transactions, meaning those transactions may be from any number of people. It's not the people, it's not the populace itself. But you asked a pertinent question. It appears that the leadership, and I've heard 1 or 2 comments here, agree with the general benefits of cashless. We've talked about them, the economic benefits, fraud, all of those things. Now, what we should be looking at is ensuring that this policy does not affect well-meaning, hard-working Nigerians in a negative way. So the transactions that are above the threshold, you agree with me, sir, are not by people that don't have electronic access. The transactions above those thresholds, where they are not covered, are those that willfully decide, for whatever reason, not to use electronic channels, sir. So our focus is make sure you have access for alternatives. We've already talked about the fact that cash is actually root with problems, challenges, physically risky. So if you decide that you want to take a large amount and expose it to the physical risk, there must be a reason, sir. And we can't make a decision for that will benefit the entire populace based on just a few that decide they won't, sir. So let me just say thank you, sirs and ma'ams, for this engagement. We deeply appreciate the questions you asked, and we'll take back and implement one or two of them. Thank you.
Everybody is sir in this place. No, everybody is a sir. Neutral. Honorable Nkiru, would you want to be addressed as Ma? You're a mother? Okay. Honorable Tolu Shadikwe, you want to be addressed as Ma? Okay. So, sirs and Mas, I want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you for your very well thought out questions. Of course, like I said, everybody has one question or the other agitating their minds, and we are not able to take everybody. Otherwise, we'll be here till 6 in the morning. I think we have had an adequate, broad section of questions from members. You have one more? You are enjoying your stay here with us?
No, sir. No, sir. You asked a question. 500, we have...
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
No. 500, we ordered 500 million pieces from the mint.
500 million
pieces of currency from the mint.
Was printed?
No, that's what has been ordered. They asked the question.
I can't hear you.
They asked how much did we order from the mint?
There are many questions. See, we will reopen it. It's okay. No.
Honorable Elema, Honorable Satomi, Honorable Abuna, resume your seats, please.
All right, no.
Honorable Elema, Honorable member from the Cooperative constituency, resume your seat.
From. Okay.
Honorable Abuna, resume your seat.
Sorry, I have
all members resume your seats, please.
I have a question from our brothers in Borno State, Honorable Satome Yanko. The question is that in Borno State there are several very wealthy people. How do you want them to change their money to the new design? That was the question. Honorable Kazari.
Yes, sir.
Wait.
I have very important things to say.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I have very important question to ask.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Answer the question.
The question, Mr. Speaker, was how do we want them to change their money? In Borno State, sir, we have 16,547 locations. We have 52 deposit money banks there and branches, and we have 4 microfinance banks and 16,000 agents. So in those different locations, they will have that access. And if they need any further, because for instance, there's no charge on lodgement. Any amount you want to take to the bank, you can take. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Honorable, so that we can continue with the business of the day, we'll excuse the CBN governor. Thank you very much. Honorable Satome, you have a motion of urgent public importance. Honorable Satome. Honorable Satome, you have a motion. Go ahead very quickly.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. My name is Engineer Satomi Ahmed. I represent the good people of Jere Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Borno State. My motion is to need to the House to investigate the sharp practices by unregulated online...
Silence, please. Resume your seat.
Unregulated
Honorable Baba, resume your seat.
And abuse of the mobile...
Honorable Budaje, resume your seat. Honorable Hafiz, resume your seat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There urgent need to investigate the sharp practices by unregulated online fintech lending companies that abuse the mobile digital loans apps in Nigeria. The House notes that the proliferation of online loan applications, that's apps in Nigeria, by some fraudulent, unscrupulous profiteers affecting many low-income Nigerians who are conceived to borrow and get trapped in a web of sharp loan hosted by Google Play Store, by individual companies, and swindle the low-income earners. Aware that the COVID-19 pandemic affected many economies, including Nigeria, as jobs were lost and incomes were affected due to the lockdown or a restriction on movement and face-to-face interaction, speed up the pace of digitalization of the financial services, and in infiltration of some unregulated financial services operators. Disturbed that these lending apps are disguised as
Silence, please.
Where unsuspecting members of the public are promised to access quick loans with no collateral except provision of bank verification (BVN). Also disturbed that such victims are expected to repay the loans as astronomical interest rates within 3 to 7 days, as against the 91 to 365 days claim on Google Play Store, which have over 83.07% market share in Nigeria. Also aware that most of these loan apps companies and individuals operate with no regulation by government, expired license, and in some cases no license at all. Concerned that searches for the registration status of the loan apps in Nigeria from the Corporate Affairs Commission shows that funding directors of such apps companies were foreign nationals without the required license to operate the volume of financial transactions and illegally operating in the country. Worried about the operation of some of cash with hosted operating account under the name of supercar individuals, certain commercial banks in Nigeria were carried out these activities of the loan. Also worried that such account holders did not have the required license to operate the money lender, which led to the commercial banks to close the first account. Again worried that many of such online loan apps in Nigeria disbursing loans to customers with no collateral, and defaulters are always sent threatening messages. And the loan apps and other fintech products can be used for money laundering and other forms of implicit financial flows. Saying that these unregulated Nigerian fintech companies shame threaten customers for late payment of loans and charge more than 45% interest. Cognizant that the need to investigate the activities of these fintech companies, including cash, OPay, letter pay, palm credit, branch, quick cash, credit money, Kia, easy credit, Naira Land, Naira Niger, new credit loan app, future cash, Chapter. All these are unregulated and has no law backing their operations. Resolved to mandate the Committee on Banking and Currency, Financial Crimes, Telecommunication to investigate the alleged sharp practices and abuses by fintech and online mobile digital loan apps companies in Nigeria to report within 4 weeks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Idausa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Dennis Idahosa. I represent Ovia Federal Constituency. I'm from Edo State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my humble colleague. I so second.
Well, thank you, Honorable Engineer Satome. I think your motion is very straightforward and very important. Very, very important. It has been seconded by Honorable Idahosa, Dennis Idahosa. So I think we'll just put the question to Honorable Satome's motion. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, the first business of the day is presentation of report of the Committee on Finance on the issue from the Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Is Honorable Faleke here? Deputy Finance, are you here? Are you ladies? Are you okay. First business of the day is presentation of report on the Committee on Finance on the issue from the Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. The total revenue of 262,959,510,955 naira only, out of which 126,712,538 naira only is for personnel costs, while the sum of 61,565,000 only is for overhead costs, and the sum of 40,827,333,352 naira only is for capital expenditure for the service year ending December 2023, standing in the name of Honorable James Abiodun Faleke. Honorable Faleke is invited to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Said Musa Abdullahi. I represent the people of Bida Akokacha Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Niger State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Finance on the issue from the Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the total revenue of 262 billion 959,510,955 naira only, out of which 126 billion 70,912,538 naira is for personnel costs, while the sum of 96,061,565,065 naira is for overhead costs, and the sum of 40,827,033,352 naira is for capital expenditure for the service year ending December 2023. Mr. Speaker, I so submit for the consideration of the House. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Mukhtar Ahmed. I represent Kaduna South Federal Constituency. I stand to support the motion moved by Honorable Saidu. I so second. Thank you.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Second business of the day is presentation of two reports of the Committee on Interparliamentary Relations, standing in the name of Honorable Galadima. Honorable Galadima is invited to present the report. Is Honorable Galadima here?
Mr. Speaker, my distinguished honorable colleagues, my name is Zakaria Ogaladima, member of the Antibody Jakusko. I am from Yobe State. Mr. Speaker, I stand to present two motions, motion 2 and item 2 and item 3. Motions are just reports on the House, yes, that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Interparliamentary Relations on the 145 Interparliamentary Union Assembly held at Kigali, Rwanda from 11th to 15th of October 2022. And of course, do also receive a report of the Committee on Interparliamentary Union Relation on 145 Interparliamentary Union on Gender Equality and Sensitivity Parliament as drivers of change for a more resilient and peaceful World Assembly held at Kigali, Rwanda, 15th October 2022. I so move.
Honorable Sada.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Interparliamentary Relations on the 145th Interparliamentary Union IPU Assembly held at Kigali, Rwanda from 11th to 15th October. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Galadima, you can lay your report. Third business of the day is presenting a report of ALDO Committee to investigate the attacks on officers and facilities of the Independent National Electoral Commission, standing in the name of Honorable Oluga. Honorable members will recall that the budget was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 30th of November 2022. Report is ready for presentation. Honorable Oluga, and I believe Honorable Joseph Bello is standing in for her. Please represent the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleagues, I am Honorable Engineer Joseph Asukubelo, and I have the honor and privilege of representing the great people of Adavi, Okeyi Federal Constituency. I am from Kogi State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do receive the report of the ad hoc committee to investigate the attacks on offices and facilities of the Independent National Electoral Commission. I so move.
Honorable Debumi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Odebo Mishegun is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere, Ogolua Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleagues. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Chairman of Business and Rules is not here, but the Honorable Kuye are here. How you people loaded this this other paper? I don't understand. I mean, I have to go. I have to go now. Leader of the House, please. The next 12 items are for third reading, so can you just take them together? 12.
Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid that this time around you are saying you want to go. I hope you are going for the good of the members. But you had me. Mr. Speaker, I said with due respect to the chair, and quite for the first time, you saying I'm going, I want to go. I hope you are going for the good of the members, please. And I saw second that you move immediately after we take you go out, no problem.
Thank you. You should know that any time I leave this chamber on time, before time, is for the collective interest.
And Nigerians as well.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You are a great man, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, my respected colleagues, members of the 9th House of Representatives. I remain Honorable Ado Dogwa, Mr. Speaker. I represent the very good people of Chudunwada Dogwa Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I am from Kano State. I rise, Mr. Speaker, as directed, and as you so allowed, that I take Bill number 1 to 13 simultaneously for want of legislative times. I therefore seek your indulgence and that of the members to read that item number 1 on the order paper today is a bill.
Number 1 to 13, taken as read.
A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Chartered Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering of Nigeria to certify, regulate, and determine the standards of knowledge and practice to be attained by persons seeking to become Chartered Electrical and Electronic Engineering personnel and for related matters, HB 2060, be taken the third time. A bill for an act to provide to provide for the procedure and ceremony for transition and assumption of office of the President and Vice President by the President-elect and Vice President-elect, and to facilitate the handover process by the outgoing President and Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 1149. Item number 3 on the order paper is another bill for an act to amend the Evidence Act Cap E14.
Honorable Usman Zanna disbanded ya Borno Caucus. Honorable Usman Zanna disbanded ya Borno Caucus. Disband that Borno Caucus. You cannot have Borno Caucus in my absence. Disband that Borno Caucus.
Mr. Speaker, I take once again item number 3 on the order paper, which is a bill for an act to amend the Evidence Act Cap E14, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to bring its provisions in line with the global technological advancements in the evidence taking, which shall be applicable to all judicial proceedings in or before courts in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 2019. A bill for an act to repeal the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, Cap 47, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to enact the Nigerian Inland Waterways Act, establish the Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority to provide for the management, regulation, and development of the Nigerian inland waterways, and promote private sector participation in the development of the Nigerian inland waterways in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 173. A bill for an act to repeal the Notaries Public Act, Cap N141, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Notaries Public Bill 2022 to provide for the appointment of notaries public, their registration, and regulate the duty of the office of the notary public, and to make provisions for the performance of digital and remote notarization of documents by notaries public in Nigeria, and the recognition of digitally notarized documents as being validly notarized, and for related matters, HB 2020. The sixth item on the order paper, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, is another bill for an act to establish Federal College of Nursing and Midwifery, Odo, Ota, Ogun State, for related matters, HB 1763.
Please take that again, please.
Mr. Speaker, the sixth item on the order of the day is a bill for an act to establish Federal College of Nursing and Midwifery, Odo, Ota, Ogun State, and for related matters, HB 1763.
Ado what?
Odo.
You should learn to pronounce words that are not from where you are from. You are a legislator representing Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
So take that again.
Yes, sir. Odo,
The first one is even like your name.
Yes.
Ado.
I said Ado. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you want me to do that rightly, I want you to pronounce Kontagora.
Kontagora? Very easy. Continue.
Mr. Speaker, can you help me pronounce Kalambaina?
Pronounce what?
Pronounce Kachoko. Kachoko, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I remain...
I asked you a very simple one. Two words. I didn't say pronounce Ogbomosho. You are giving me difficult... Continue.
Mr. Speaker, I remain guided.
Yes.
And I will take a special lessons to learn names of communities and places across the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes, very good.
That would be patriotic.
One day you may be president of Nigeria. You need to know all this.
Yes, but before the president of Nigeria, I would want to be somewhere in between.
I don't know anything about.
I would like to be somewhere in between.
Just pray to God.
In between this place and the presidency. I would like to be somewhere in between this place and the presidency.
If it wills Allah.
I mean, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, the seventh order of the day is a bill for an act to establish Federal Capital Territory Health Insurance Agency to institute the Federal Capital Territory Health Insurance Scheme and provide comprehensive quality and affordable health care services for all residents of the Federal Capital Territory and for related matters, HB 60. The eighth order of the day, Mr. Speaker, is another bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Act, Cap 116, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Bill to provide for full-time and part-time courses of instruction and training of the general development of transport and logistics sector of the Nigerian economy for junior, middle, senior cadres, managers, technicians, technologists, artisans, and for related matters, HB 1909. The ninth item on the order paper, Mr. Speaker, is a bill for an act to establish Federal College of Education, Nduo, Eduo, Eket, Akwa Ibom State, and for related matters, HB 2085, a bill for an act to establish Federal College of Agriculture Technical, Oboinibri, Bayelsa State, to provide full-time courses, teaching, instruction, and training in agricultural technology, agriculture, and carry out its due administration and management, and for related matters, HB 1731. Mr. Speaker, the 11th item on the order is a bill for an act to repeal the Investment and Securities Act 2007 and enact the Investment and Securities Bill to establish Securities and Exchange Commission as the affects regulatory authority for the Nigerian capital market, as well as regulation of the market to ensure capital formation, the protection of the market to ensure capital formation, the protection of investors, maintain fair, efficient, and transparent market, and reduction of systematic risk, and for related matters, HB 1787. Mr. Speaker, the 12th order is a bill for an act to repeal the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers Act, Cap C9, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and provide for establishment of Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments, and for related matters, HB 1858. A bill for an act to establish National Research Institute for Chemical Technology to provide globally competitive and environmentally friendly innovative research and development in the processing and conversion of indigenous raw materials into valuable chemicals and petrochemical products for the development of chemical, biological, and man-made fiber technologies for industrial application in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 2065. A bill for an act to repeal the National Information Technology Development Agency Act number 28/2007 and enact the National Information Technology Development Agency Act to provide for the administration, implementation.
No, that's for second reading. That's for debate.
Okay, second reading.
Yeah, you're done with the. So we'll just take Honorable Kuya. Can you second all
Mr. Speaker,
the bills for third reading?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name remains Honorable Ademori Kuye. I speak for the good people of Shomolu Federal Constituency, and I'm from Lagos State. I rise to second the motion for the adoption 13 items.
The chairman business and rules
yes, sir.
is not following the business of the house. The chairman business and rules is not following the business of the house.
Adopt. I rise.
You want to adopt it? Okay. Go ahead, move to adopt.
The third reading of to second the motion as moved by the leader of the House.
You owe the DS a lot for today.
Thank you, DS.
Those in favor that these bills be read the third time, please say aye. Those against me say nay. Ayes have it. Bills read third time and passed. Honorable colleagues, before I take my leave, I want to make an announcement. It's from Honorable Fred Agbedi. Appreciation. His mother, Mama Agbedi's passing. I wish on behalf of my families, appreciate the leadership and the entire members of the Honorable House for your prayers, financial, moral support, and attendance of the burial ceremony of my dear mother. We were deeply comforted by your roles. It is our prayer that the Almighty God shall show himself mighty in every sphere of your lives. Once again, thank you and God bless. Amen. Thank you, Honorable Agbedi, for the appreciation. Thank you, and may Mama's soul continue to rest in peace. Honorable colleagues, I leave you in the very safe hands of the Deputy Speaker so that we can continue. And by the way, sorry, I should have made this announcement earlier. We were meant to close today, but unfortunately, work has to continue. There's some things that need to be done, and we will adjourn today till Wednesday, when we will now pass the budget and close for the year. We're meant to close today, but you know our work is a very tough one. We come back on Wednesday. So we adjourn today and come back on Wednesday just for that one item, pass the whatever, and to pass the budget and the finance bill. Yes, thank you.
Respected colleagues, Gudaji, please. Clerks is invited, they don't titles of the bills.
Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. A bill for an act provide for establishment of Chartered Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering of Nigeria to certify, regulate, and determine the standards of knowledge and practice to be attained by persons seeking to become Chartered Electrical and Electronic Engineering personnel and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act provide for procedure and ceremony for transition and assumption of the office of the President and Vice President by the President-elect and Vice President-elect, and to facilitate the handover process by the outgoing President and Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Evidence Act Cap E14, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to bring its provisions in line with the global technological advancement in evidence taking, which shall be applicable to all judicial proceedings in or before courts in Nigeria and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to repeal the National Inland Waterways Authority Act Cap N47, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Inland Waterways Act, establish the Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority to provide for the management, regulation, and development of the Nigerian Inland Waterways, and to promote private sector participation in the development of the Nigerian Inland Waterways in Nigeria and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to repeal the Notaries Public Act Cap N141, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Notaries Public Bill 2022 to provide for the appointment of notaries public, their registration, and to regulate the duty of the office of the notary public, and to make provisions for the performance of digital and remote notarization of documents by notaries public in Nigeria, and the recognition of digitally notarized documents as being validly notarized and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish Federal College of Nursing and Midwifery, Ado Ota, Ogun State, and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish Federal Capital Territory Health Insurance Agency to institute the Federal Capital Territory Health Insurance Scheme and provide comprehensive, quality, and affordable health care services for all residents of the Federal Capital Territory and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Act, CAP N116, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Bill to provide full-time and part-time courses of instruction and training for the general development of transport and logistics sector of the Nigerian economy for junior, middle, and senior cadre managers, technicians, technologists, artisans, and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish Federal College of Education in Nduo Eket, Akwa Ibom State, and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish Federal College of Agriculture Technical, Ogboibiri, Bayelsa State, to provide full-time courses, teaching, instruction, and training in agricultural technology, agriculture, and to carry out its due administration and management and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to repeal the Investment and Securities Act 2007 and enact Investment and Securities Bill to establish Securities and Exchange Commission as the apex regulatory authority for the Nigerian capital market, as well as regulation of the market to ensure capital formation, the protection of the market to ensure capital formation, the protection of investors, maintain fair, efficient, and transparent market, and reduction of systematic risk, and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to repeal the Chartered Institute of Stock Brokers Act, CAF C9, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and provide for establishment of Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment and for related matters. Third reading. A bill for an act to establish National Research Institute of Chemical Technology, provide globally competitive and environmentally friendly innovative research and development in the processing and conversion of indigenous raw materials into valuable chemicals and petrochemical products for the development of chemical, biological, and man-made fiber technologies for the industrial application in Nigeria and for related matters. Third reading.
Being read the third term and pass. The Spirit Colleagues, the 14th order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to repeal the National Information Technology Development Agency Bill number 28, 2007, and enact the National Information Technology Development Agency Bill to provide for the administration, implementation, and regulation of information technology system and practices, as well as digital economy in Nigeria and for related matters. Standing in the name of the House Leader, all members will recall the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 29 November 2022. I now invite the leader to move that the bill be read the second time.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my respected colleagues, members of the 9th House of Representatives. I remain Honorable Ado Dogwa, Mr. Speaker. I represent the good people of Tudunwada Dogwa Federal Constituency. I am from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move item 14 on the order paper, which is a bill for an act to repeal the National Information Technology Development Agency Act number 28, 2007, and enact the National Information Technology Development Agency Act to provide for the administration, implementation, and regulation of information technology system and practices, as well as digital economy in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 2117. Mr. Speaker, I so submit for second reading. Thank you.
Seconder.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Martin Monguno Nganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I second the second reading of the bill as moved by the Leader of the House.
Honorable colleagues, the question now is the bill be read second time. Those in favor say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to repeal the National Information Technology Development Agency Act number 28, 2007 and enact the National Information Technology Development Agency Act, provide for the administration, implementation, and regulation of information technology systems and practices, as well as digital economy in Nigeria and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Information Technology. Respected colleagues, the 15th order of the day is commencement of debate on general principle of a bill for an act to amend the Court of Appeal Act 2013 to, among other things, increase the number of justices of the court from 90 to 110 and provide for the integration of virtual court proceedings and for related matters, standing in the names of in the name of the House Leader Honorable Nkiruka Onyechocha. All members will recall the bill were consolidated on Thursday, 15 December 2022. I now invite the leader to move that the bill be read the second time.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I remain Alhassan Ado Dogwa, Mr. Speaker, representing Dogwa Tudunwada Federal Constituency. My respected colleagues, I am from Kano State. I rise to move item 15 on the order paper, Mr. Speaker, which is a bill for an act to amend the Court of Appeal Act 2013 to, among other things, increase the number of justices of the court from 90 to 110, provide for the integration of virtual court proceedings and for related matters, HB 299 and 2115 respectively. Mr. Speaker, which is a Senate and House bill, be read the second time. Honorable members, I so respectively move.
Leader, you may go ahead and proceed to read the second bill.
Okay, sir. Mr. Speaker, with the leave of the chair and the House, the 16th item on the order paper, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, is a Senate bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of History and Archaeology, ESC, Kwara State, and for related matters, HB 2159 be taken the second time. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so move.
With the next one too?
The next one is Nomi. It's an individual.
It's on too.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I remain guided. Item number 17 on the order paper, Mr. Speaker, is a bill for an act to alter the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, to provide for alteration of section 244, 262, 277, and 288 therein, and for related matters HB 2066 be read the second time. 18, Mr. Speaker, is another bill for an act to provide for establishment of National Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Robotic Studies, Lagos State, and for related
That
matters.
is for Honorable Rotimi.
Is Rotimi here? Mr. Speaker, I beg to do that on behalf of Rotimi. I beg to do that.
That you should go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I thank you so much for this special mandate. And the minority leader also, who is a very friendly opposition, I thank you for concurring with the majority membership of this House that I should do this on behalf of my brilliant member from Lagos State, Honorable Rotimi, the House Committee Chair on SDGs. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Rotimi is not only my good colleague, he is my successor as chairman of that very good standing committee, even though for quite some years not been submitting the appropriate reports to the House leader, which of course is obvious, is statutory. I've not been receiving a report from Rotimi, but he's doing fine and very well in the ministry. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the bill is for an act to provide for establishment of National Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Robotic Studies, Lagos State, and for related matters, HB 2012, in the name of Right Honorable Rotimi Agunsoye, to be read the second time. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so very specially move. Thank you.
Ragaji, this is strictly business of leadership. So I want to a little beg of that understanding. Yes, sir.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marche Monguno Nganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I second the second reading of the bills as moved by the House Leader.
Colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerks is invited to read the long titles of the bills.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Court of Appeal Act 2015 to, among other things, increase the number of justices of the court from 90 to 110, provide for integration of virtual court proceedings and for related matters. Second reading. A bill for an act provide for establishment of Federal University of History and Archaeology, SCA Kwara State, and for related matters. Second reading. A bill for an act to alter the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, to provide for alteration of sections 244, 262, 277, and 288 therein and for related matters. Second reading. A bill for an act provide for establishment of National Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Robotic Studies, Lagos State, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bills refer to 1516 Committee of the Whole, Special Ad hoc Committee on Constitutional Review, and Committee on the Information and Technology. Then lastly, the last is Information and Technology. Thank you. Respected colleagues, the 19th order of the day is a motion on amendment of the standing orders of the House of Representatives 2022 to upgrade the ad hoc committee on legislative agenda to standing committee. Standing the now Honorable Henry Mwabwa. Mwabwa is invited to move the motion. Is now on the floor. Motion step down by the leader of the House. Respected colleagues, the 28th order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the brutal killings of Mr. Ejike Egu and others by terrorists ravaging farmlands and rural communities in Amaize community of Ishialangu Ivo Logom area of Ibo State, standing in the name of Honorable Makwe Levinus Makwe. Honorable Makwe is invited to do the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Honorable Engineer Makwe Livinus Makwe, representing the good people of Ohozra, Onitsha, and Ibo Federal Constituency of Ebonyi State. I rise to move a motion on the need to investigate the brutal killing of Mr. Ejike Egu and others in Ameze community of Eshiago, Ivo local government area, Ebonyi State. The House notes that on 28 November 2022, about 8 suspected bandits armed with AK-47 rifles invaded Ngada, Ameze community farmland in Eshiago, Ivo local government area of Ebonyi State, shooting and killing innocent farmers between the hours of 2 and 2:30 p.m. They killed Mr. Ejike Egu on the spot and set his body ablaze, while Mr. Onyekachi Nweni sustained severe life-threatening gunshot wounds and is currently in intensive care unit, with Mrs. Bernard Aja, Nwachukwu Promise, and Chibuzo Aro, who escaped with various degrees of injuries and are receiving treatment in a local hospital. Also note that the incessant attacks and murder of farmers and rural dwellers in the Ameze community by unknown gunmen have gone on unchallenged in the last 2 years, given that on 9 January 2022, the trio of Messrs. Oji Anthony, Ogonna, both from Ameze community, and Aja Oka from EH2 community, were shot, butchered, and their bodies littered all over Ameze Farm Road. The House further knows that on 18th May 2022, Mr. Chukwuemeka Benjamin Aja was gruesomely murdered, and his colleague, Mr. Boni Angoke, was critically injured in their farms prior to the incident, where Ms. Nwada Chinenye was attacked and butchered with her arms almost cut off in September 2020. Further knows that on 18th May 2022, worried that this incessant murder of rural dwellers and residents of Ameze community has left bereaved families jobless and underage children homeless. Also worried that Ishago community, of which Ameze is one, are agrarian communities that depend majorly on agriculture, but the incessant invasion and killings by bandits have deprived the people of their source of livelihood, pushed rural dwellers to abject poverty, and generally engendered a climate of fear and insecurity, such that the people can no longer go to their farms freely. Deeply worried that in all these killings, the security forces, particularly the Nigerian police and the military, have not been proactive in nipping the attacks in the bud through intelligence gathering, timely deployment, and prompt intervention. The House therefore resolves to: I condemn the gruesome killing of Mr. Ejike Egu, Chukwuemeka Benjamin Aja, and numerous others whose lives were cut short by bandits and armed men terrorizing Ameze community of Eshiago local government area of Ebonyi State. 2, observe 1 minute silence in respect of Mr. Ejike Egu and others killed in their farms and Ameze rural community. 3, urge the Chief of Army Staff, Inspector General of Police, and Commandant of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps to set up a joint patrol team to comb the farmland and forests to rout out bandits, terrorists, and unauthorized armament killing farmers in Ameze community in Ishagu, Ivo local government area of Ebonyi State. 4, also urge the Chief of Army Staff to set up a military checkpoint at Ameze Expressway Road, Ameze Ishagu, Ivo local government area of Ebonyi State. And finally, mandate the committees on police affairs, army, and interior to ensure compliance. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Yes, sir. It's working.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Chike John Okafor, PhD. I represent the good people of our Kigwe South Federal Constituency. I'm from Imo State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this very pathetic motion on the killing and the need to investigate the brutal killing of Mr. Ejikebu and others in Ameze, a community of Ishiagu, moved by my brother and colleague, Honorable Makwe, Livinus Makwe. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Leader, the next is constitutional report, but we have agreed to step down this report until next week.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, that has been the position of the leadership, that this report was just laid this afternoon, and as a very critical report, something that has to do with appropriations and the discharge of public funds. I think we have to take due process and allow members to go through that report diligently, and we consider it next week. Next week even can be subject to further discussions, Mr. Speaker. When you bring reports over and over and over.
Leader, I think our bound is that we are considering next week, so.
Okay, we'll consider it next week.
Thank you.
Yes.
Consideration step down by the leader of the House.
Yes. And I'm doing that with the consent of the leader of the minority. Next year. Perhaps next year. Yes.
Well, leader, I moved for the adjournment of the House to Wednesday next week. Colleagues, be a little bit patient. Next week. Thank you. Be a little bit patient.
Mr. Speaker,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleagues, members of the 9th House of Reps, I rise to move, as directed by the Speaker, that this House do adjourn till Wednesday next week by 11 a.m. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so move.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Delmelu, and I represent the good people of Anyochoshvili, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, before I second, let me wish my colleagues Merry Christmas in advance, and also beg, hold on, now let me finish, I'm saying something. And also beg the leadership to please do something for members for Christmas and also the season, so that when they are resuming on Wednesday, they will be smiling, because I know that their constituents are looking forward to them to at least minimally buy rice to their people, whether Christian or no Christian. Having said that, I also add that the workers, the sergeant at arms should be well taken care of, and also it's a traditional thing. Having said that,
Mr. Speaker,
I rise to second the motion moved by my brother, and my brother, the House Leader, is in support of my submission.
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes, I'm in support of that submission, sir. But I hope no member should get out here smiling and on the street he frowns, so that constituent will definitely understand that he came out here smiling. Some can smile here, but when they get out on the street, they frown. So don't smile here and frown outside.
Well,
having said that, I hereby second the motion moved by the House Leader.
Thank you very much. Respected colleagues, the Speaker have asked me to appreciate their good work, and that yes, we are going on a break and to come back to consider budget, which is a national assignment on us, not to break our promise of maintaining the budget cycle of January, December. The House has done so much, colleagues have done so much, that I should thank you and pray for you to have a journey mercy to your constituency, and that by the grace of God, the Speaker is doing everything, at least we are doing everything possible to ensure that we have a good end of year. May God help us. Well, I suppose we have done a good job, and the House is doing exceedingly well. With this, what Sada have said, we have always gone out of this place smiling because we know we are doing our work well, and members are doing their work well. Do we put the question? Huh? Let's buy. You're already smiling. You're already smiling. Eh?
Motion properly moved and seconded, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. Any development? Clerk. Clerk, I hope you know we are entitled to the freedom of information bill is still in action. Freedom of information.
Who has an amendment to secondment? Secondment.
Which?
No, somebody says he had an amendment. Huh? Do you want to go or want to hear good things? I personally don't want to put the question. I think so. Colleagues, after due consultation with the leadership, yes, we'll put the question, but we'll wait for executive session. Those in favor of the motion for the adjournment say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Please wait for the executive session. You may clear the gallery, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, by your directives and the leave of the House, Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this Honorable House do resolve to executive session to discuss executive matters. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so move.
House now moved to the executive session. Resolve to executive session.